This evening, 2,000 homes to be constructed for Region 3 families. Full-time contracts with gratuity approved for public school sweepers, cleaners. The minibus busted with over 100 pounds of narcotics by CANU. In the region, Colombia and Venezuela to reopen borders, and internationally, satellite to crash into rock in outer space. Welcome to another broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update. I am Baby Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. Ranks of the Ghana Police Force are investigating a fatal accident involving two cars at the D. Edward Public Road in West Berbice during the early hours of Saturday, September 24th. Dead is 30-year-old Salim Yusuf of Bennett Dam, D. Edward Village. Inquiries disclosed that around 4:30 a.m., motor vehicle PTT 9357 driven by the deceased Yusuf was proceeding west along the southern drive lane on the public road. A motor car driven by 33-year-old Colin Bino, a teacher of Kildonan Village in Currentine Berbice, was proceeding east along the northern drive lane at a fast rate. Bino lost control of the motor car and collided with the right side of Yusuf's car on the southern drive lane. As a result of the collision, both vehicles received extensive damage. Yusuf received injuries about his body and was taken to the 4th Wellington Public Hospital, where he was seen and examined by a doctor on duty who pronounced him dead on arrival. The body was taken to the Anthony's Funeral Home awaiting a post-mortem examination. Bino is in custody assisting with the ongoing investigations. Some 2,000 families in Region 3 Essequibo Island, West Demerara, will benefit from affordable homes as government accelerates its turnkey housing project to meet the housing demands in the region. This was announced by the Minister of Housing and Water, Colin Crowell, during an activity at the iFlood Community Center on Friday. The construction of these homes will add to the 500 low-income homes to be constructed in the region. A memorandum of understanding was signed between the Ministry and Republic Bank Limited in July for the financing of 2-bedroom units, which will cost $5.5 million each. Minister Crowell explained that the first 125 homes under that project would be constructed at Lenora. The minister stated that the investments would provide significant growth and development for the region and its people. Region 3 had the second highest demand for housing in the country, with a backlog of approximately 14,000 applications in the Central Housing and Planning Authority's database. Since taking office in August 2020, the government has distributed in excess of 4,000 house lots within the region. Some $4 billion is earmarked to develop a further 1,000 serviced house lots in 2023. Ranks of the Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit made several arrests and seized over 200 pounds of cannabis as they continued to rid the streets of illegal drugs. A teenager was among two persons nabbed by CANU ranks during two separate operations on Friday, with over 105 pounds of marijuana in their possessions. CANU officers conducted an operation at Young and Restless Street in the Kendron West Coast Demerara, where they intercepted a young man carrying a haversack. A subsequent search of the haversack revealed several transparent Ziploc bags containing suspected cannabis. Consequently, the 19-year-old Errol Latru of Metamirzorg, West Coast Demerara, was arrested and escorted to the CANU headquarters with the suspected narcotics. The narcotics was tested positive for cannabis with a total weight of 118 grams. Also on Friday, another group of CANU ranks, acting on information received, conducted an operation in the village of Sheet Anchor, East Kanchi Berbice. The officers intercepted 31-year-old Unil Lamkin of Sheet Anchor East Kanji under the Kanji Bridge with a small quantity of suspected cannabis in his possession. The suspect was escorted to his home, where the officers conducted searches of the property and the surrounding bushes. During this time, the officers discovered two large parcels containing suspected cannabis hidden in the bushes. Lamkin was arrested and taken to the CANU headquarters along with the narcotics. The small quantity found in his possession weighed 18.3 grams, while the narcotics discovered near his home carried a total weight of 47.5 kilograms. Additionally, on Saturday, ranks of CANU seized over 100 pounds of cannabis and arrested a male during a sting operation at Betterforwacton Embankment Line Top area, East Coast Demerara, and intercepted around 50 minibus bearing license plate BXX 6792. A subsequent search of the minibus was conducted in the presence of the driver and lone occupant, 58-year-old Lal Badur Baiju of Lot 50 Plantation Hope Bath Settlement, East Coast, Berbice. The ranks discovered several parcels of suspected cannabis. Baiju was arrested and escorted to CANU headquarters along with the suspected narcotics, where it was tested positive for cannabis and had a total weight of 119.4 pounds. Investigations are ongoing. Stick around after the break. Teen perishes in suicide Linden Highway accident and full-time contracts with gratuity approved for public school sweepers, cleaners.
Guyana goes on show from September 16th to October 2nd for the first ever Cricket Carnival with an exciting lineup of parties, concerts, pageants, CPL cricket semis and finals, and Carnival Costumes Parade. Book your tickets now. For more information, log on to cricketcarnival592.com or our social media pages. Come and experience our people, our food, and culture from September 16th to October 2nd.
The sixer! That's the first of the night.
Maison Francois is the chocolate paradise of Guyana. From the moment you enter our stores, you're welcomed by the sweet aroma of Belgian chocolate, pastries, and other artisanal treats handmade by our European-trained chef. However, Maison Francois is more than just chocolate. We serve lunch, dinner, afternoon tea, and even Sunday morning mimosa brunch. Our convenient location at 133 Thomas Street, Kitty, makes it the perfect place to take that special someone or to take home a little sweetness. Treat yourself with the taste of Paris in the heart of Georgetown. Only at Maison Francois.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brickdam and White Castle Fish Shop, be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Welcome back. Sweepers, cleaners at all public schools would be immediately offered employment on a full-time contract gratuity basis at the public service minimum wage level. This announcement was made by President Dr. Irfan Ali on Friday. The cabinet gave this directive for steps to be taken to regularize how sweepers, cleaners are employed and paid at public schools. This decision brings to closure an outstanding matter which has affected this category of workers in the public school system. They have long expressed their desire to be considered regular employees at public institutions and receive similar benefits. Additionally, steps have also been initiated to address other pending anomalies in the salaries being paid to other categories of employees, including some teachers who are affected by the inconsistencies of their pay grades depending on the year in which they were appointed. The government has already started working to take stock of this problem to resolve it going forward. The police are investigating a fatal accident that claimed the life of a teenager on the Suicide-Linden Highway in the vicinity of Silver Hill on Sunday, September 24th. The now-dead youth has been identified as 17-year-old Stanton Garway of Kairuni Village, Suicide. Inquiries disclosed that around 2:25 p.m., the 17-year-old motorcyclist was proceeding north along the western side of the Suicide-Linden Highway at a fast rate of speed. A hire car driven by a 50-year-old Augustine Class of Kairuni Village was proceeding east along the southern side of the trail, which is located on the western side of the road. The driver made a sudden turn onto the Suicide-Linden Highway and into the path of the motorcyclist. The front portion of the motorcycle collided with the right side front door of the hire car, and as a result of the collision, both the car and motorcycle were badly damaged. The motorcyclist fell, receiving injuries to his head and body, while the car driver received injuries to his head. They were picked up in semi-conscious conditions and taken to the Linden Hospital, where they were seen and examined by a doctor on duty. The motorcyclist was pronounced dead on arrival, and the car driver was transferred to the Georgetown Public Hospital, where he was further seen and examined by a doctor on duty and was admitted as a patient in the male surgical ward suffering from head injuries. Don't go away after the break. Brazil elections. Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva increases his lead, and satellite to crash into rock in outer space.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 4-6 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brick Dam and White Castle Fish Shop, be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
Maison Francois is the chocolate paradise of Guyana. From the moment you enter our stores, you're welcomed by the sweet aroma of Belgian chocolate, pastries, and other artisanal treats handmade by our European-trained chef. However, Maison Francois is more than just chocolate. We serve lunch, dinner, afternoon tea, and even Sunday morning mimosa brunch. Our convenient location at 133 Thomas Street, Kitty, makes it the perfect place to take that special someone or to take home a little sweetness. Treat yourself with the taste of Paris in the heart of Georgetown. Only at Maison Francois.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for do a surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Hey yo, GT Massive, this is Double M. All hear me out. Right now it's all about the Marshall Super Concert, October 1st. Right here is cricket, is carnival, is soca in Guyana. Hey, ha!
Welcome back. Now let's take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world. Colombia and Venezuela will reopen their borders on Monday, resuming cargo transport and passenger flights after years of closure. Al Jazeera's Alessandro Rampietti reports.
Venezuela's main consulate in Colombia's capital Bogotá lies in ruins. An accidental fire in April burned much of it, its walls covered in graffiti and overgrown weeds. It's a tangible symbol of a relationship gone sour since 2019.
Al dictador.
When Colombia's former president Iván Duque refused to recognize Nicolás Maduro as the president of Venezuela after elections Duque said were fraudulent. But all that has changed with the election of Colombia's first leftist president, Gustavo Petro, who promised to restore relations. Last month, Maduro enthusiastically received Colombia's newly appointed ambassador, emitting big on laughs and hugs. The Colombian envoy says the neighbors should never have parted ways.
There are some 5 million Colombian citizens that have been totally abandoned for years, without possibility to renew a passport and ID. It was just stupid and inhumane. Whatever the difference is, it doesn't make sense to have no communication.
The two countries have since announced a full reopening of their porous 2,000 kilometers long border for trade, and called for the resumption of military collaboration in a region overrun by criminal groups. But despite the many pledges and boastful announcements, restoring full diplomatic relations is easier said than done, because the two countries remain deeply suspicious of one another.
I think it will be a much more complex and long process than what people think. The two countries have deep asymmetries. If you look at trade, Venezuela's industry is in shambles. For the Maduro regime, the most important thing is to show that they're not as isolated as they were. While Colombia has a lot to gain economically, but wants to avoid being seen as cozying up to a less than democratic government.
The arrival of Venezuelan ambassador in Colombia was a noticeable muted affair, and the countries have so far avoided addressing Venezuela's ongoing political crisis and the fate of the more than 2.5 million refugees in Colombia.
The agenda makes no mention of security, of migration, of consulate services. Venezuela's ambassador, Plasencia, has long denied the existence of a migratory crisis, but now that he's in Bogotá, he inevitably will have to recognize it and address it.
But even with its many fits and starts, the fact that the two neighbors are talking again is welcome news for millions of Colombians and Venezuelans on both sides of the border. They've been in limbo for years, but now believe there's hope for a more stable future. Alessandro Rampietti, Al Jazeera, Bogotá.
The frontrunner in Brazil's presidential elections, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, has held a rally in Rio de Janeiro. The leftist candidate has increased his lead in opinion polls against the right-wing challenger, President Jair Bolsonaro. Al Jazeera's Lucia Newman reports.
It was almost like carnival. The Portela Samba School in Rio de Janeiro was the latest stop for presidential candidate Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, campaigning for another crack at the presidency. Not that his supporters needed much convincing. Thousands of mostly low-income Brazilians were nearly crushed trying to get a glimpse of the candidate, using their fingers to make the letter L for Lula. Others were moved to tears when Lula spoke of how he too knew what it was like to grow up in abject poverty.
I just want to be president to take care of my people, because I know what people want. They want a house, no matter how small, to shelter from the rain and the sun. They want a job with a fair salary. The biggest dream of many women here is not to leave their children a fortune, but rather a profession, so they can rest in peace and go to heaven.
Although Lula is leading in the polls, he warned the enthusiastic crowd that former U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton lost the election because too many Americans stayed home instead of voting.
Lula compared himself to Gandhi and Mandela, whom he said, like himself, had been unfairly imprisoned but eventually got out to free their country. But unlike Gandhi and Mandela, charges that he had overseen the largest corruption scandal in Brazilian history while he was president, billions and billions of dollars, continue to weigh heavily on Lula.
But people like Juliana believe his virtues are more important than his faults.
It was Lula's government that gave people opportunities, like the chance for the poorest sector of society to go to university. I simply cannot defend the current president's policies. That's why we need Lula.
This campaign event took place in what is supposed to be the stronghold of his rival Jair Bolsonaro, who is fighting for a second term as president. That Lula is even running at all is something that would have seemed unthinkable 4 years ago, when he was sent to prison on corruption charges, something he always denied. But then, he always promised he would be back. Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera, Rio de Janeiro.
Scientists around the world are awaiting the results of a crash in outer space. Al Jazeera's Rob Reynolds reports.
A spacecraft is just hours away from impact with a far-off asteroid, a multinational mission which could be instrumental in someday preserving human civilization. NASA's Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or DART, is a 570-kilogram spacecraft launched in November 2021. Traveling at more than 6 kilometers per second, it is on track to smash itself to pieces on the surface of a small asteroid called Dimorphos, 11 million kilometers from Earth. The object is to alter Dimorphos' trajectory slightly.
A small nudge is about deflection, not disruption. It's not the Hollywood blockbuster of blowing it into a bunch of pieces. Small nudge, find it many years in advance, and that adds up to a big change in position with time.
The asteroid's path will be studied by Earth observatories and satellites for years to come. Dimorphos itself is not on a course to collide with Earth. But massive objects have struck numerous times in our planet's history. One of the biggest in recent times was the Tunguska event, a meteor that exploded over a remote and uninhabited area of Siberia in 1908, flattening 80 million trees over an area of 2,000 kilometers. 65 million years ago, a huge object crashed near the Yucatan Peninsula, causing global devastation. Scientists believe that impact is directly linked to the extinction of the dinosaurs. To prevent humanity from going the way of the T-Rex, scientists and engineers hope to develop a system to nudge threatening asteroids away from Earth once they are identified.
Once you find the asteroid and you have its orbit, you really can be in this position where you have the warning time, where you really would be able to do things decades in advance, and that's completely realistic.
The impact will be captured by the spacecraft's onboard camera, promising a dramatic view of an experiment which may one day be remembered as helping prevent Armageddon. Rob Reynolds, Al Jazeera.
And that is it for today's regional and international news. Here now is your 3-day weather forecast. And that is all for this edition of Channel 2's Headline News Update. Tune in on Tuesday at 7 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other.